A very good morning, dear children. I welcome you all to another video lecture of English, and today, as you can see on the board, we'll be discussing a grammar topic, and the name of the topic is the verb. Children, when you hear the topic, the verb, you feel you're quite acquainted to it. And I'm sure you remember the first definition being taught to you about verbs was that all the action words are called verbs. So verbs, whenever we hear, we always associate it with actions. But now you people are in class 7 and 6. Now from 6 to 7 when you people come, what happens? The definition of verb is further exaggerated, further detailed, and you need to explore the different aspects of the words that are included in the topic, the verb. So let us see through the definition what it means. So you can see on the board I have written, verbs are words that tell us about an action, process, event, state and possession. So apart from action words, so many new words we have used, right? Like process, event, state and possession. I'm sure you're able to see these words which have been added to your definition, right? So now we are going to see the example of the bits of your definition. Let us see how and what kind of words fall under these broadly classified headings. Mohan plays basketball. Very easily, I'm sure you must have identified the verb out here is plays. And what does play mean? It means that some action is being performed, and Mohan is performing the action of playing. So plays here becomes your verb because it signifies action. So this is our verb. Next, see the next sentence. I wish I were a bird. I wish I were a bird. So I have a desire. I have a wish. So wish is your verb. And why is it called a verb? Because wish is showing us mental action. I am performing an action in my mind. I have a desire. I wish. I bless someone. So these feelings, these are all mental actions that I am doing. So this is also a part of verb only. And in the previous sentence, play was showing physical action. Wish out here shows mental action. So we have come to know that physical action and mental action both are included in the verbs. Next sentence, I am a doctor. I am. So the word am out here is a verb. And what does am suggest to us? The word am suggests to us a state of being. Okay. So whoever this I is, he or she is a doctor. So being in the state of a doctor, am word out here is a verb and it classifies what? It classifies state as per the definition. So when words signify a state, even then they are considered as verbs. Next sentence, the water is boiling. The water is boiling. Now boiling is our verb. Boiling is our verb, and under what category it is our verb? Process. Boiling is a process, and what process the water is doing? It is boiling. So boiling is our verb as per the definition that we have studied today. Next, there was a railway accident. There was a railway accident. The word was out here is a verb as per our definition because was verb suggests an event. there was an accident. So was is describing an event out here, and definitely it is a verb. Next sentence. Mr. Bhupesh has a car. Mr. Bhupesh has a car. So has is our verb and it is showing possession, that Mr. Bhupesh is not doing any work. He is not driving the car, I said. I did not say he is driving it and he is doing some physical action. I am not saying Mr. Bhupesh is thinking of buying a car. I am thinking would be your mental action. I did not even say that. But he has. So has is showing he is owning something. So owning something means possession. So this verb out here has is considered as a verb because it shows possession. So you can very much associate after seeing these examples with the definition that we have studied what are verbs. Verbs are words that tell us about mental action, physical action, state of being, possession and event taking place. So all these categories, they fall into the category of the verb. I'm sure you found it very interesting to explore the very definition of verb. Now further when we will study the different kinds of verb, you will see that there is so much to find out about this topic. And dear children, the topic verb is very important from the aspect that when you are well acquainted with this topic, you have a very good hold over the topic tenses. Your grasp over the topic tenses becomes very strong. So I want you all to be very attentive to the explanation of every detail of the topic, the verb. Dear children, now you can see the heading on the board. It says kinds of verb. Like I had shared with you all, verb is a very detailed topic. And once you are acquainted with all these subheadings, only then you can very confidently say that yes, I know the topic verbs. So what are we going to study under the different kinds of verbs? We are going to study the main verb or principal verb. This main verb is further classified into transitive verb, intransitive verb. Then you have helping and auxiliary verbs. These are further classified as primary auxiliary and modal auxiliary. Then you can see on the board finite and non-finite verbs, regular and irregular verbs. So we are going to study all these subtopics in detail. First of all, I'll be explaining you the main verb or the principal verb, and together I'll be discussing with you what is transitive and intransitive. I shall be making a detailed video which has the helping verbs because they require a lot of attention and they are very helpful to you in improving your topic tenses. You're going to have a good grip over tenses when you understand this particular portion very nicely. Then finite and regular verbs, all those two categories we'll be discussing together. So basically in three subparts I'm dividing this topic, where gradually we'll be proceeding and knowing everything at the end of it. So now we'll be starting with the first one. Let's have a detailed discussion on the topic main or principal verb. So let's see what the definition says about main or principal verb. It refers to the important verb in the sentence typically showing action or state of being. They can be used alone or with helping verbs. So we come to know that the main verb can be used alone also. It can also be used along with the helping verb. When we use the main verb alone, the examples are like read, write. For example, Mohan reads a book. the author writes a story. Okay, then we have is dancing. For example, Megha is dancing. So is out here is a helping verb, and dancing which shows the action, so it is an example of a main verb. If I would have written is thinking, then again is a helping verb and thinking is your main verb, and it is showing mental action. So the main verbs, how are we using them? We can use them individually, we can use them with the help of an helping verb, assisted by a helping verb. Now, what are the different types of main verbs? First one is transitive verb. And what do we understand by the term transitive? Transitive means those verbs that convey incomplete meaning. That means they are not able to provide us the complete information. We are left with some sorts of question marks. So they show some signs of incompletion. Another feature about them is need an object. So these kind of verbs need an object. Right now when I'm telling you people about object, when I'm using the terms incomplete meaning and all, so these are quite technical things. You will understand it better when I use a sentence to explain, and you will feel that you already know about it. So see the example, Mohan painted a picture. So out here, what is the verb? The verb is painted. Okay, the verb is painted. If I ask you, if I hide this portion, a picture, and I just say you Mohan painted, you will have a question mark, you will have a question in your mind, what did Mohan paint? So when I tell you he painted a picture, then the meaning of painted makes sense. Then your sentence becomes sensible, right? So this word painted out here is an example of transitive verb because it needs an object. And what is the object out here? Picture is my object. A picture is my object, and this object is conveying the complete meaning. It is making sense. Mohan painted a picture. Let us take another example. The lion killed a deer. Very easily you must have identified the verb. The action being taken place is killed. So what work or what action the lion is doing? That action that lion is doing is of killing. So he has killed. If I say the lion killed, again you will be left with a question mark. So when I am using what did he kill? He killed a deer. When I am saying he killed a deer, again a deer is helping you make sense out of the word killed. So a deer is again an example of an object, and out here killed is your verb. And what kind of verb? It is your transitive verb. So I hope now it's clear what do I mean by conveying complete meaning. So when I'm saying Mohan painted a picture, it is conveying complete meaning. And when I say need an object, so a picture has made it complete. Otherwise, if I say only painted, then it conveys incomplete meaning. Killed, it conveys incomplete meaning. Next we have intransitive verb. So intransitive verb we can say are exactly opposite of transitive verb. Why am I using the word opposite out here? Because both the features of meaning as well as the object are just opposite in this case. Intransitive verbs convey complete meaning. Itself they are complete. Next, do not need an object. They do not require an object. So this feature is exactly opposite of the above. That is, they require an object, and out here we don't require an object. So let's see how. The stars are twinkling. So twinkling is our verb. Twinkling is our verb, and when I read the sentence, What is twinkling? I know the stars are twinkling, so it is making complete sense. I do not require any further information. Neither am I feeling there is any question mark in my mind. Neither I am feeling something is missing. It is absolutely perfect. The stars are twinkling and I get the meaning. So this word twinkling out here, which is an action, it is conveying complete meaning and it is an example of intransitive verb, and we do not require anything further ahead. We do not require an object. Next, the child smiled. So who is smiling? The child is smiling. What action is being performed? The action of smiling. So smiled is my verb out here. And when I'm saying the child is smiling, so you get it. Okay, there is a child and he is smiling. You don't have any question mark in your mind and it makes complete sense to you. Okay, somebody is happy and probably that somebody is smiling away. So again, this is an example which conveys complete meaning and which do not require an object. So it becomes an example of intransitive verb. So after seeing the examples and the points which we have to keep in mind as per the definitions of these two, you have noticed they are exactly opposite. So for your revision, once again I will repeat, transitive verbs do require an object. Intransitive verbs do not require an object. Transitive verbs do not convey complete sense. Intransitive verbs convey complete sense. They have complete meaning. Now we will be studying about ditransitive verb. Now why am I showing you the finger 2? Because something is 2 out here. Di word out here is referring to 2. Now what is ditransitive verb? Ditransitive verbs have 2 objects. Okay, like out here when we had studied, Mohan painted a picture. So painted was our transitive verb and a picture is a single object which has been used and it is an example of transitive verb out here. So in ditransitive we are having 2 objects. How are we having 2 objects? Let's see with the help of an example. The sentence says, my brother gifted me a book. My brother gifted me a book. So what is the verb? What action my brother has done? My brother has done the action of gifting me. So gifted is my verb out here. Okay. Now what did he gift me? He gifted me a book. If I say only my brother gifted, so you will have a question mark in your mind. What did he gift? So we require an object to make complete sense out of the verb gifted. So what did my brother gift me? He gifted me a book. So book out here is an example of object. Now you must be having a question, where is the second object, right? So let's find out where is the second object. My brother gifted me a book. So what my brother gifted is my direct object, or I can say it is the first object, prime object, which is also referred as direct object, which is directly related with the verb. Whenever we see whatever action is having related to that, the object which we have, that is referred as the direct object. So the word gifted, with gifted the word which is related is book. But then further I asked, to whom the book has been given? The book has been given to me. So this me out here is my second object. The word me is the second object. And the first one is direct object and me is indirect. Why it is indirect? The word gifted, gift ho raha hai kuch. Okay, fine. So what is being gifted? Book. So the answer is satisfied. Now in the sentence we can see to whom it is being gifted. That further information has also been conveyed. So ultimately the process of gifted has revolved from the topic book and then it has come back to me. So I am the indirect object out here. which is related with the word gifted. So there are two objects in the sentence and it is an example of ditransitive verb. So in the sentences where you find more than one object, one would be your direct object, second would be your indirect object. The verb in that sentence is referred as ditransitive verb. And how will you identify what is the direct object and what is the indirect object? Direct object is always related to the action. What action is happening? What is happening? So that answer you will get. And that action has effect on something or someone else. So that would be your indirect. So I hope now the heading main verbs or principal verbs, and under this heading transitive, intransitive and ditransitive is very much clear to you all. That's all for today. The next subtopics will be continuing in the other session where we'll have a detailed view about it. God bless you, dear children.